wish the President would as well.
So we have a potpourri of questions now in the final, roughly 5 or 7 minutes we have to go. A question that's been in the news, and I think so far your husband has been the one to address it. This comes from a local reporter for the Washington Blade, who says, recent reporting has revealed the clinic you co-own with your husband engages in a kind of therapy that is meant to help people get over their homosexuality. Do you believe that reparative therapy can change gay people into being straight, and has any federal funding gone for your clinic?
Well, I'm extremely proud of my husband. I have tremendous respect and admiration for him, and we'll celebrate our 33rd wedding anniversary this coming September. But I am running for the presidency of the United States. My husband is not running for the presidency. Neither are my children, neither is our business, neither is our foster children. And I am more than happy to stand for questions on running for presidency of the United States.
So just to be clear then, you don't believe that your personal finances are something that should be questioned by the American people?
I am running for the presidency of the United States, and I have no doubt that every jot and tittle of my life will be fully looked at and inspected prior to November 2012.
Well, speaking of which, the Washington Post yesterday reported that you've called for dismantling...
These are the fun questions now that we're getting into.
Don't forget there's a prize at the end. The Washington Post notes that you've repeatedly called for dismantling Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which back home mortgages. The Post reported that your family signed for such a loan, and so the question, and I got a lot of questions about people asking, is it fair for you to call for dismantling of federal programs that you yourself ultimately have been a beneficiary of? So in terms of guaranteeing home mortgages, do you think the federal government has a role in that, even if you don't like the way Fannie and Freddie have been doing business?
Clearly, I think this is the problem. Now, unlike all of you who I'm sure pay cash for your homes, there are people out there like myself who actually have to go to a bank and get a mortgage. And this is the problem. It's almost impossible to buy a home in this country today without the federal government being involved. Whether it is with the FHA, whether it's with Fannie, whether it's with Freddie, it's almost impossible to buy a home. One thing we need to remember is that Fannie and Freddie were the epicenter of the financial meltdown. I sat on the Financial Services Committee, and I watched as this occurred. What's important is that we do dismantle a number of these federal programs that everyone agrees are clearly out of control. And don't forget, not only is the federal government virtually taken over this entire industry, take a look at the student loan industry. About 25 years ago or more, maybe even in your time when you were in college, 25 years ago or so, almost all student loans were private. Today, 100% of student loans are government. Now, this is not a good scenario. The federal government continues to insert itself into fulfilling a proprietary function that the private sector should fulfill. This is the problem. This is an intervention by the government, and it's altering the marketplace. We need to get the federal government out of these programs and out of these loans.
You've talked a lot about how your faith is important in your life and for your family. A questioner asks, what aspect of being a politician do you find most difficult to reconcile with your faith?
Oh, goodness. The tax collectors, maybe, something like that. Really, I don't find it difficult to reconcile with my faith. I'm a Christian, and I'm proud of my faith, and I'm extremely grateful to God. As President of the United States, I will pray every day and ask the Lord to give me guidance as President, and even more so, I want you to know that I will be praying for every one of you, too, every day.
So you're in the National Press Club, and we're grateful for that. We had a number of questions about the media. People wonder if you feel like the media has generally been fair to your campaign and you.
Well, when my husband and I made the decision to seek the office of the presidency of the United States, we considered what would be involved, and we knew that this would be a momentous journey and that it would take every bit of our stamina and everything that we had, and we knew that it would be tough. But also, I think that I had a rare advantage, and that's the fact that when I grew up, I had 3 brothers and no sisters. And there is no better preparation for politics that a girl could ever have than that. And one thing that the boys in my family learned very quick is don't pick on your sister. It's not going to work.
You told me that at the end of today's appearance. So in terms of when you're looking to read the news yourself, what kinds of sources do you like to look at? And do you like to look at a variety, let's say from the left and the right?
I do. As a matter of fact, usually I prefer to go to the sources from the left first rather than from the right, but I have a routine that I go through. I have an iPad, and I thank God for iPads. I love them. And also I have a smartphone that I use. And so I'm finding increasingly that more of my news is coming to me digitally, but that's also how I try to communicate with people as well, is digitally. So I receive my news that way, but we also continue to receive newspapers and print magazines at our home, and I'm a big reader. And for me, I have read books on my iPad, on the iBooks, but I just can't get away from actually holding the printed page. I have a love affair with a printed page, and so I prefer to read directly from a real newspaper that I hold in my hands and from a magazine, because I have a habit. When I read, I usually am writing while I'm reading. I'm putting notes in the margin. My husband is nodding. He's seen me do that forever. And so that's my habit. But I'm in the process of transferring over and doing it digitally as well. But I'm a big reader, and I read everything.
So what are your favorite liberal publications, then, if those
Well,
are...
goodness, all right. Well, as far as television goes, I will go to MSNBC to see what MSNBC has to say. Although I don't know if they would consider themselves liberal. They may not, but I go to MSNBC. And also the Huffington Post. I'll go there and take a look at what they have to say, or the Daily Beast. Now, none of these publications may consider themselves liberal, but I go there as well.
Ariana Huffington was here just a week ago. I'm sure she'd be glad to hear that. Well, we're almost out of time, but we have a couple of housekeeping matters to take care of, and I'd like to remind you about some upcoming luncheon speakers, one of whom is in the political space, much the same as yourself. August 19th, Governor Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico, candidate for the GOP presidential nomination. On August 30th, we'll have an interview with Labor Secretary Hilda Solis in advance of Labor Day. And right before 9/11, Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York. That'll be on September 6th. So before we get to the last question, I'd like to present our guest with the traditional NPC gift, and that is... By the way, I'll just note, we call it the NPC mug, but you can drink either coffee or tea out of it.
Oh, thank you. Sweet tea. It will be sweet tea.
Thank you.
Thank you.